Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of the podcast that's brand new. Love brought you here. My name's Cassandra, and I am the host of the show. Now, as you can see, I do have a guest, but I want to do a brief introduction first to tell you a little bit about what the kind of underlying theme for this show is. So, we've all gone through struggles and we've all had moments where we've been in a corner. And for some reason, being between a rock and a hard place, at least for me, is the moments where my most genius moments come in. And I realized very recently, I've been through things like homelessness, surviving domestic violence, all sorts, a whole spectrum of things. And I realized recently that those moments that sometimes where I think, oh my God, I'm going to cave, have actually been the catalyst for me in using my creativity to choose myself, and I didn't even know it. And I'm going to give you a quick example. Skincare products. I didn't have money for lotion for like an entire year, but I did have food stamps. I found a way to use food products to make myself skincare products, hair care products. And that type of innovation has been replicated over and over and over again. And I realized after I came out of the situation, this was me learning to love myself. I also want to address the title of this show, Love Brought You Here. It is a quote from James Baldwin, who I adore, the late James Baldwin. And I want anyone who's listening who is familiar with the work, If Beale Street Could Talk, that I do not take using that title lightly. James Baldwin was a brilliant philosopher and writer and speaker, and he was so important in talking about systemic racism and just systemic issues. But the line that's the title for the podcast comes from the book that I mentioned, If Beale Street Could Talk. And the entire line is, love brought you here. If you've trusted love this far, don't panic now. And that is the spirit of what I want to draw from this entire show. What did you create as you learned to love yourself? How did you use your creativity, and how did it pull you from your situation? This isn't a trauma dump. This is a show about resilience and about finding the art of noticing. I've seen that going around a lot. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my first guest, who is actually, her name is Savanna, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But she is my ex-sister-in-law. Welcome, Savanna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Your phone's a little bit jerky. I don't know if do you see it jerking on your side, like the image and stuff?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll turn out well. It's fine. We'll work through it, whatever it is. So, Savannah and I married siblings, and then what's the best part of the story?
We divorced
Divorcing
the
them.
siblings.
Right. But through it all, we remain friends. This is the first time we've spoken in person for nearly 4 years. I haven't seen her in 4 years. Obviously, we've spoken because we orchestrated this. But yeah, it has been 4 years. So how the hell have you been?
I've been good. I've been just living life. I've changed jobs 3 times. I'm in a new relationship. Um, I read a lot of books. I eat a lot of snacks. That's about it.
And that is actually one of the first things that Savannah and I bonded over was snacks, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I want to do kind of an icebreaker because I know sometimes there are nerves on podcasts. So I have a question. It's a very personal question. It's not. It is, but it's not. When you were a child, it's actually two questions. Number one, when you were a child, let's say like 10 years old approximately, what was your favorite snack?
Probably bagel bite and pickles. I've always loved
Oh, what was
pickles.
she is the pickle queen. Bagel bites, like those little things you put in the microwave. It was like, or was that pizza bite? Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at.
Yeah, those.
Heck yeah. Those are good in the air fryer too. We didn't have air
Yeah,
fryers then,
they're
but
still good.
they're delicious. What's your favorite kind of those?
Pepperoni and cheese.
Obviously.
I still
And my
eat
next
like a
question.
child, so
Oh, go.
I still eat like a
Hey,
child,
that's okay.
so
You
you know,
also make healthy choices, but you also make healthy
sometimes,
choices too.
sometimes.
Sometimes we have to have that little kid inside of us what they want.
Yeah,
So, my next question is when you were a child, what is the first thing that you remember wanting to be when you grew up?
a dolphin trainer.
How did I know you were going to say something like marine biologist, but specifically a dolphin trainer?
Yeah, I just love dolphins in the water.
Was there like why? Why?
I don't know. I just love dolphins. I've never even seen a dolphin. I've seen a dolphin at like SeaWorld, but I've never like touched a dolphin. I just like them. But my favorite animal is a stingray.
Wow. Oh, have you touched one of those?
Yep.
Where was that?
At the aquarium in Tennessee.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you liked pizza bites and you wanted to train dolphins, and your favorite animal is the thing that was the demise of what was his name? Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin. I know. I love him and his
Rest
kids.
in power.
Yeah,
Right.
I was sad about that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And they're not dangerous. It's just it was an unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the snacks, as I mentioned, Savannah and I first bonded over snacks. I'll set the scene up, and if you want to give a little more context to it. So Savannah and I married into a family that had very large get-togethers. Very large, very exhausting, very long get-togethers, and quite often she and I found ourselves kind of huddled together in a corner, like what? That should have been our sign, right? Like, what are we doing? But could you please tell everyone who's listening, how did snacks come into play for this for us?
Because they never had any. They would have whatever whatever they were having for the meal, which was always planned around one person and what that person wanted. And then everybody else just had to eat it. So we would go get snacks.
And I forgot about that part of it. The way that I remember it happening is we were sitting around, and I guess there was a need or we wouldn't have left. But I was also smoking a lot of THC at the time. Like I would have edibles. Like I'd go in the room and be like, oh my God, I can't take this and have an edible. So maybe that's why I don't remember all the details. But, which kind of adds another layer to the snack and the fact that this episode is being released on 420, unironically. But I remember the parts that I remember are we just did an Irish exit every time. Like we didn't announce that we were leaving. We didn't say, "Hey, does anybody want anything?" We just said nothing. We left and we drove down the road, which wasn't far, and we weren't gone long. And we'd come back with snacks. I don't think anybody ever even noticed. Like they're just it'd just be
Probably
all of a
not.
sudden have snacks. Can you tell me about what is the perfect snack for you?
Gosh, that's hard. It just depends on what I'm craving, I guess. But mostly my go-to is chips. I don't know. I prefer
Chips.
salt over sweet.
And what kind of chip specifically?
Well, I like pretty much any kind of chip, but sometimes I really go for like the Cool Ranch Doritos. And
Hmm.
on one said occasion that we
Okay,
went
I'm
to
laughing.
get, what is it?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. On one said occasion that we went to get snacks, I got a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and I found the perfect triangle chip. And I had it laid to the side because I wanted to save it for last. And somebody just came up and ate it off the table.
Our
And it was the
mother-in-law,
best
our
chip.
mother-in-law.
Yeah. And I still think about it and how rude that was. Like, that was my chip. And there's never been a perfect one
I
since.
recently I recently asked Savannah, like, have you ever like you hold it, it was like a traumatic event for her, quite honestly. Like I haven't talked to her in 4 years and we have rehashed this entire event. And she said she's never found a chip that was quite like that again.
And I never will because it was perfect.
And how does it make you feel to have had that taken away from you by the person who took it away from you?
I mean, it tracks, honestly.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I just really wanted that chip and couldn't have it. So I'm still mad.
I understand that. I understand that. And so part of what I want to do today, and I think I'm going to make this an ongoing theme, is we've brought snacks. I don't know what snacks she's brought. She doesn't know what snacks I've brought. We're going to do a quick snack haul, maybe some ASMR with our snack bags. Would you like to go first? I don't know how many you've brought either, but would you like to go first?
Sure. So I've got a dill pickle Slim Jim.
Ooh, is it your first time?
No. And I can only ever find them at the Dollar Tree by my house, which is convenient,
What?
but I wish
And
everywhere
a
had them.
$1.25. Right. That's
Worth it.
unfortunate. That's a good snack. I want to try that actually. My first snack is kind of a hippie snack. Sometimes people hate it when I bring the snacks to the party. I've gotten a little bit better with it. But like they're like, "Oh, Cassie's bringing the carob." So yeah, dipped dark chocolate blueberries. They're very good. I got them from Amazon. Okay, what else do you have? Did you bring anything else?
I also have flavor blasted goldfish.
Ooh. Is it just like the regular cheddar, but like, oh yeah, there it says it extra cheddar.
Yep. And they're like coated
Okay.
in like cheese.
Are they like the perfect crunch too?
Yeah, they're addicting.
Oh, okay. This is one of my, so I'm kind of old now and I can't have a lot of sugar because there's this horrible thing that no one's ever heard of until it happens to you, and it's called perimenopause, and it's like the hell before you actually hit menopause. It lasts up to 10 years and nobody talks about it. So sugar makes my like joints hurt. So you anyone who's listening, and you too, Savannah, can thank me when you hit about 39 and you're like, oh, I remember that old lady telling me this. So this is one of my indulgences, and it's the Nerds gummy clusters. I
Oh, those are the
love
best.
these things, but I yes, aren't they? Do you like this flavor or do you like the berry ones?
I don't like the berry ones.
Yeah, same. Me either. I mean, it's not that I'll say no, but yeah. Okay, what else?
I also brought Gushers and fruit roll-ups.
Ooh, have you had the sour gushers?
No, I've seen them, but I've never tried them.
They're good. And I love that Gushers are back.
Me too.
The last snack that I have, this is another one like, oh, don't let Cassie bring the snacks to the party. They're sweet potato chips and they're Carolina barbecue flavor and they're delicious and they're very crunchy. A lot of sweet potato chips end up being like not the perfect crunch, but these are good. Does that complete your snack haul?
I also have Bunch of Crunch, and it's like the only chocolate I like.
Oh yeah, that's right. I kind of forget that you don't like chocolate because it's kind of weird. I mean, it's
It is
not,
weird.
but it's it's different for most people. So, okay. So we've been the reason I invited Savannah on is sometimes we'll share stories that we both experienced. And I laugh so hard. And I think people deserve to hear laughter because I think that like part of the creative process okay, so laughing about things that have happened that weren't great can be a trauma response, right? It can be like this avoidant behavior of I can't process this, so I'm going to laugh about it. But once you've worked through that part and you can look back and laugh, it really is a creative process. It is like art. And so I've wanted for a few years actually to just have a conversation with somebody just honestly and candidly about like some of the things that I accepted when I didn't know better yet. Um, I don't personally look back and think, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of what I did. I was so weak because honestly, that version of me was was one of the strongest versions of me that existed. Because that's the person who took a step out and said, you know what? No more. I'm not doing this anymore. That's scary. And I ended up homeless for like almost 3 years because of it. So, but I like to look back at the things that I'm like, you didn't understand that that was less than what you were, you know? So let me ask you this question. In totality of the entire situation, if you had to look back and go, whoa, what was I thinking? Like, is there a specific moment? And it doesn't have to just be the spouse, it can be just the kind of collective situation. Is there a moment that you look back and go, what? Why didn't I run?
There is, I just really can't pinpoint one specific time. But
Yeah.
like looking back now, there's just so many differences in between that relationship and the one I'm in now. It's like I just didn't get anything back from it. And it's like
Yeah.
I think that if you want to have a good relationship, you have to go and work together on it and like pour into each other and
Hmm.
really care about what the other person feels and what they're thinking about and just different things like that, just little things that like I didn't get from that I get from my relationship now. So it's just so much different. Now I'm just like, wow, I spent 10 years in that situation.
I didn't realize you were also a decader. Me too. Yeah, it's a long time. Like, I gave up my entire 30s. Everybody's like, your 30s are the best time of your life. They definitely were not for me. And I, I'm not grateful that any sort of thing that was traumatic or dangerous or that left a scar on me that happened. I'm not grateful that it happened. It never should have happened. I'll never think about my ex and say thank you for doing that. But I'm really grateful for the strength that I found in myself and like the perspectives like you were just saying. It's those little things that you don't think about. Like when you're saying that, it sounds so obvious. Yeah, you want someone to be involved in what you're not involved necessarily, but like interested in what you're thinking and just show respect and be a participant in the relationship. Like that seems so obvious, but when you're in it and you're trying to just survive the day and you have this legality, marriage behind it, you don't always see it.
Right.
And so I'm grateful for, oh, go ahead, please.
I was just agreeing.
Hmm. I think that um, the thing that this entire situation has taught me the most is that joy is a choice. People think, oh, they're happy, blah blah blah, they were lucky. Joy is a choice 100% of the time, as is what you take away from any sort of situation. And so, again, the resilience that I never should have had to have, that you never should have had to have, humans learn through experience though, but that was the choice. And I actually, last night, when I was thinking about the podcast today and how excited I was to talk to you, I started thinking, I'd ask you what's something that's creative that you did to kind of bridge a gap when you were going through a difficult time. And we'll get to that, what you specifically said. But I was thinking about our snack runs and just the space that we created for ourselves. And that was a choice of joy. That was the art of noticing. That was the art of finding beauty amongst all the chaos that was happening in a place where our interests weren't even considered at all. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. And that's why I chose Love Brought You Here as the title, with, again, the utmost respect to Baldwin, because creating those atmospheres and those decisions, James Baldwin talked a lot about how, and he was talking about this because of race also, which obviously I'm a white woman, I can't relate to that, but there won't be a space for him until he makes one himself. And I think that's very true about a lot of things. Are there any other situations that you can think of, whether in the relationship or just through the growth that you've gained, that you've had to like make a space for yourself so that you could be joyful or just experience happiness?
I mean, back to my marriage, like, if you weren't one of my close friends, you didn't know there was ever any issues. Like, my parents never knew, nobody knew unless it was like two or three friends that I would tell. So, I mean, I guess I really just learned to not show how I was really feeling, but at the same time, like, I never forgot how I felt. Like, it was a long time coming, my decision to leave. Like, I thought about it a lot before it happened, and finally I was just done. And I was like, it
Mm-hmm.
sucked, and I was sad because I mean, it was 10 years of my life, and we had cats, so we had to split those up, and it was just, you know, hectic, and it had to happen though. And like, I'm glad that it did.
And let me ask you, you said that your friends and your family didn't know. Did you know? Like, obviously, you knew to some degree. You said you never forgot. But, like, for me, for example, I look back and there were so many moments where it was almost like a kid being put in timeout. And I'm like, why am I the only one apologizing? Or why just like almost feeling small inside? And I look back and I'm like, I knew, but I didn't listen to myself. Like, did you consciously have an awareness that there was something wrong?
Yeah, there were definitely times that I was just like, what is this? Why am I staying in this? And I was the only one to ever say sorry, which is insane. But I don't know, like, I finally just had enough.
Was there any specific like catalyst, any specific thing that happened? Was it just like I feel like everybody has a fuck it moment. Like and for everybody that's usually something different. And sometimes like I had a friend one time. She'd been through horrible things with her ex husband or fiance, I don't remember. And he'd called her everything in the book and done things to her that were terrible and horrible and hurt her. But one day it was her birthday. And this partner of hers decides to call her a bitch on her birthday. And she said that was the straw that broke. She said because it was my birthday and he called me a bitch on my birthday. And that was the moment that she said, "You know what? I'm done." So did you have a moment like that, or was it just a general culmination?
Yeah, there was kind of a big moment like that. Like, I had already been thinking about it, like, up to this point, and, like, we had honestly already, I had already told him, like, I wanted to separate. Like, I didn't want to be together for the time being, but we still lived in the same house. I didn't want to stress out my parents with that, and my mom has MS, so, like, I wasn't trying to cause anything with that because stress induces it. And we were already technically separated, just still living in the same house. I told him, don't talk to me, don't look at me, sleep on the couch. We've got to deal with this. And basketball, high school basketball was a big thing with his family, and he got me involved in it. But also, my dad loved it too because my dad's very proud to be from where we're from. His high school, has won 2 state championships in the last few years. And like, I've loved seeing that with my dad. And like, it also became our kind of thing. It happened to be the week of my birthday. It was on my
A
actual
birthday
birthday,
gift.
actually. He went to a game with his friends after work on my actual birthday, didn't care what I was doing. And then that weekend, the my old high school team played for the state championship, and he was like, I can't come. I don't feel good. So I was like, okay, so you can go with your friends, can't go with me when you know that this means a lot to me and my family. So I was like, I don't, why would I give more when I'm not getting anything back?
Hmm.
And he
And
likes to blame it
I
on,
think that
sorry, he likes to blame it on his
no,
mental
go on.
health, which he was dealing with some stuff then too, but this is beyond that. This goes before that. It had always been a thing with like him not giving me back what I gave him. And
Hmm.
I was just done. I was just fed up with it. But
Hmm.
I mean, I take anxiety medicine too. I have mental health issues too, just like most people do. So I would never divorce somebody because of their mental health. Like, no. And like, I get it. If you have mental health issues,
I
that's
think
fine,
that
but that has nothing to do with it.
right. I think that it goes back to kind of the baseline of joy being a choice. It's very similar. Like, we've all had terrible things happen to us. If you haven't, then you've lived in a bubble, and actually, that's a terrible thing because you don't know how to cope with the world. So, like, by definition, we've all had trauma and things happen. We all struggle with something, but it's your decision of what to do with that. And my degree is centered around human behavior, psychology, sociology, and anthropology. I see patterns because I'm neurodivergent, and something that, it's been kind of almost like a real life case study of observing people over the past 4 years since I kind of woke up to what was happening with me. And something that I've seen is there's a phrase called weaponized incompetence, which I'll explain, but it's the weaponized part that I really want to hone in on. So, weaponized incompetence is like manipulating someone by saying, like, for example, I remember my ex being like, one day she's just like, I don't know how to make a grilled cheese. Like, you make it so much better. Bullshit. You know how to make a grilled cheese. Like, I've seen you do it before. But that's presenting yourself as incompetent all of a sudden to get what you want. That's the weaponization of incompetence. And most of the time it's false anyway. It's just manipulation. But you see any sort of like I don't really want to use the word marginalization, but I can't think of a better word. Anything can be weaponized like that. I've seen it happen with neurodivergence, where people are like they use it as an excuse and they put it in this like almost untouchable category, right? So They say, this is the thing, this is the reason for all of my behaviors. This one thing, we'll say mental health because you've used that as an example. This mental health condition that I have is the reason that I do A, B, C, D. And I don't care how it makes you feel because this is what it is. This is the container. It's my mental health. And then consequently, if you, as the person who's being affected by this, were to ever question that or push back on that, it becomes an issue of morality. And it is
Exactly.
a gross manipulation. I've seen it done with so many different things. Like anything it can happen with. It can happen with like I'm queer, I'm pansexual. Like I've seen people do it with their queerness. I've seen people do it with their health issues. Like anything it can happen with. And not only is it just a harmful and disgusting thing to do to a partner, but it also causes a lot of problems for the rest of that demographic or like population that struggles with or, deals with that situation. Was there anything else that was kind of a perpetual weaponization for you?
No, I think that was really it. It just,
Yeah.
I just found out that he was telling everybody that that's why I left was because of that. And I mean, that makes me look bad
Yeah.
when that's not the case. And hopefully, all the people he told that were smart enough to know that's not it.
Right. And the thing that I had, like when you don't get closure about a situation, one of the hardest things I think to deal with is just knowing that you don't get to say your piece. Like you deserve that. You know that you deserve that. And like the wounded little kid inside of you that's been poked at throughout the relationship wants to stand up and be like, but listen, but walking away. And the thing that I had to tell myself over and over again, and I still do with friendships, anything, is that anyone who wants to believe that, who knew me, who was in my life and wants to believe this one-sided thing, and for that to be rational for them, they didn't know me at all. I don't want them in my life. Good riddance. Like, thank you. Thank you. For leaving, because now I can make healthier relationships with people regardless of what kind of relationship that is. You talked about hiding. Not, you didn't say hide, but well, you said that people didn't know what was going on. Like they didn't know that there were problems, and I'd ask if you consciously knew. But like that is also such a pattern I've learned about myself, that when I'm pretty honest normally, and when I find myself lying about something or withholding information, and there's no reason for it, it's not a privacy issue or whatever, there's something going on. And I've started looking at my own behavior to kind of gauge what's happening around me. So let me ask you something else. Looking back, what is the most like audacious thing? And if you need me to go first, I can think of something, I'm sure. But what is the most audacious thing that was like said or done? And now you have to laugh about it. But at the time, you were like, oh my God.
You go first.
Okay. So I think for me, there was a point at which, and I accepted this, and again, I do not hate myself. I don't even think it's necessarily cringe that I thought this. I accepted the behavior, the in whatever. But at some point, my ex looked at me and said, "You're the reason I have bad hygiene." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Yeah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, I dare someone to say something like that to me. Like, absolutely not. There is no, like, it's the, you find that in those sort of like unequal dynamics, those power dynamics where someone's trying to manipulate or whatever. I don't think like that, so I don't care. But it's just like any sort of bad behavior that they know that they're consciously aware of, they'll find a way to spin it off on you.
Mm.
Can you think of anything that was just
Yeah.
like, you're like, the audacity?
I can't think of anything right off, but I'm sure there were things. But also with the hygiene thing, first of all, what you do has nothing to do with somebody else's hygiene.
No.
We've
No, and
got
I don't want to
we've
make
got
this
some
like a.
proof.
Go ahead. I do want to share the towel story because, like, I laughed so hard at that the other day. And, like, the purpose of this is not to slam anybody's, like, entire family or entire being. But this was a red flag. Like, when we talked about this the other night, I'm like, what? Like, how is this not the moment that we said, okay, we gotta go? Would
Yeah.
you like to start? Okay.
The, the whole family used the same bath towels for days in a row. They just shared them
It was.
and then thought it was weird that, like, I didn't want to use one of them that they'd already used 10 times.
By different people too. It was like,
Yeah.
like you think of like Oregon Trail or what was that stupid show, Blue House on the Prairie, but back in the colonial days when everybody like it's bath day, and you fill up one tub with water, and if you're one of the parents, you get to go first, but if you're one of the kids, you get all the you get like 5 baths in, and it was very much like that, and I don't know how we were like, yeah, I'll stay.
Or using the same
I
toothbrush
think,
as people.
yes.
That should
I
have been a
mean,
red flag,
I
and that
used to
was
drink.
a week into the relationship.
Right, right.
And there were times that
Let me,
it would be like, can't I just use yours? No, you can't. You can't use my toothbrush. And because I ain't going to use it after.
don't you have a toothbrush? Like, why don't you have a toothbrush? I mean, they're not that expensive. They're, you
Right.
can find them everywhere. Like, I was homeless for a long time, and let me tell you something that they had on hand all the time was toothbrushes. Like, I never had a point where I was like, man, I don't have a toothbrush. Like it's harder to find water sometimes than a freaking toothbrush. Like that's crazy. Um
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely, you know, I've started to understand that part of the reason that people are able to do just like wild things like that is because they do have the audacity. Like they literally think differently than the people that they kind of like grasp onto. And so there are moments in life where, like, I'm not a supporter of like narcissism or manipulation or abuse or things like that, obviously. But we do live in a world where you can't just like be pure and let your light shine because that'll get you unalived. But that said, there are moments where I'm like, Cassie, you have to you have to have the audacity of someone abusive because really, like, they believe that they are so different that things don't apply to them. And so there are moments where that comes into play, and I'm like, have the audacity. It's that, after I left my wife, there were moments where I had to actually drive across the country in my car. The My driver's license was dead. My I didn't have car insurance at the time, and my plates were dead. Like there was nothing legal about what I was doing, and I had no choice but to drive literally from Florida up to Oregon. I mean, I had choices, but you know what I mean. This was early on. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I was a rule follower. I was a rule follower. And now I realize that being able to follow the rules to that extent is a privilege. But anyway, I thought to myself, what would my ex wife do? She would tell herself that she's doing nothing wrong. And that was the like aura that I wore. I didn't get pulled over or messed with one time. Now, I was a white lady in a Subaru, so that has something to do with it. But still, like, there was nothing legal about my car. But I had that audacity. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's fine. What? So, like, so I am going to start a playlist. That's part of what I really want to do with this show. Um, and I'm really, really excited about that. But I have to figure out Substack because Substack's kind of being a pain in my butt. However, um, we'll go back to this. We'll go to the song towards the end of the episode, but we are going to have a song each week from the guest, and we're going to build the playlist of what was your screw it moment song, like the song that you started listening to over and over again that either lit a fire under your butt or told you that something was wrong in your relationship. And we're going to look at that in a minute, but may I draw a tarot card for you while we're on camera?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? Okay. And I don't
Never had
know
this
if there's
done,
like, I
except one
actually,
time that it was fake at your Halloween party.
oh, can you actually, that was a great costume that you had. Can you tell everyone what your costume was?
My costume was blue meth from Breaking Bad. I was really
It
proud
was
of it.
really good.
It was
Yeah.
last minute.
And actually, I was, yeah. And mine was, and that whole couple's costume, that was all me. That was all my idea. It was the Oregon Trail. We dressed up like people from the game, the Oregon Trail. And so I remember I had like a tombstone around my neck with, with like you've died of dysentery or something. We even dressed the cat up like a bear.
Oh, Jasper.
Jasper. I love that little guy. He was such a sweet guy. Yeah, so I think the question I'm going to ask the card, it's going to be like a kind of on behalf of both of us, not just strictly for you, but like um just what's the message for our sisterhood? You can see that the episode title is Gourmet Outcasts, Salty In-Laws, and Sweet Sisterhood. Because, yeah, we dropped the in-laws, but we kept each other, and it was all about snacks. So, like, what is the message for us moving forward? And how do we keep choosing joy? Oh my gosh, that's great. It's the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is a really great card. Wands typically means like action or something like that, but so you see how they're like, it's almost like doorways, like the wands. Now, these aren't traditional cards. These are actually, so I'm in Denver, Colorado, and this is actually from a store. These were given to me. This is from a store called Alchemy Ritual Goods. And the owner of the store here in Denver, she created these cards, and they're beautiful. And they're meant to be like inclusive, like gender inclusive, culturally inclusive. There are indigenous depictions on there. Like they're beautiful if you can't tell. But the Four of Wands is like almost like a homecoming. Like you're looking at these two beautiful doorways and you're walking through them. It's a little different in the wider weight deck, but yeah, like opportunities are endless. Like you have good choices, and it's a very positive card. And I kind of love that that's the one that came out. This is one of my favorite cards, actually. Um, so yeah, yeah. I just wanted to, I don't know. I think that that's something that I want to do in episodes too is ask people like a card, uh, have a card drawn for them. Um, so let's get back to the song actually. Uh, what was we know what each other's songs were, but what was your song and can you tell me about how that came into your life?
My song was Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. It's also a whole album, but specifically that song, it came out in March 2024 and I left in April 2024. So I just remember it coming on one day. I was getting ready for work. Like the day the album came out, I turned it on and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so deep. Like this fits my situation so much. And ever since then, like I've listened to that song probably 5,000 times. Like it was just like a sign, I guess. Like I was like, okay, I've got to go. Found a deeper well, as the song says.
Hmm. Do you think that it woke you up, or did it like lift anything off of your, like, did it uncover your eyes? Or like, how did you relate to it in the moment? Besides, obviously, you said that the lyric, like, you found a deeper well. Like, what do you think that that song did for you?
I think it just gave me the push that I knew I needed to be happy again.
Hmm. I love that. And I think honestly, that's almost like a butterfly effect of the creative process of creativity and of art, because music is, I don't know that I think it's the universal language, because there's atonal music, like there are all kinds of different music, but music does kind of unite us as humans. And I'm sure that Casey was writing from a place of some kind of like wounding or pain or sorrow, and understanding that there's more out there. And it butterfly affected down to you and just kind of like lit that fire under your butt and said, I deserve more. And so that pushed you towards self, like learning to love yourself. And did you know at that moment, like, did you know that that's what you were doing, that you were choosing to love yourself?
I did. I mean, I guess I always thought that I loved myself, but that moment and that song just really made me realize like there's more out there. Like I have to leave this part of my life to find more, to get what I deserve, to get what I want, and everything will be okay.
And I'm a firm believer in like the yin and the yang, or that there will, something that it actually took me almost 4 years to understand, is that there will always be suffering. There are things that we can do through using our voice, using our stories to help others to have their own personal aha moments, not telling them what to do, but sharing with them. But there will always be suffering. And likewise, there will always be a sacrifice to get to a happier place. And I know for me, I was just in survival mode at the time. Um, I don't think I was really thinking about what I'd have to sacrifice. The thing that you mentioned, the cats, I had to, and actually a lot of people stay in really bad relationships because of animals. There are starting to be some nonprofits out there, some efforts to help with that. But children and animals are some of the biggest reasons that people stay in relationships, and financial abuse. 99% of domestically abusive or violent, any kind of like manipulative relationships, they include financial abuse. But I had to leave my cats. And that was such a hard thing to do. I was able to get one to safety, one to a very good home, and she's living her best life now. But that is a sacrifice that was so hard. But you have to do it to choose yourself, ultimately, to choose to love yourself. Um, my song was Rainbow by Kesha. I'd never heard it before. And I don't know, it was probably a month before I left. The song came on my playlist very randomly, and I was like, what is this? And it talks about how just she remembered that she was worth loving again. And I am a classically trained vocalist. I spent most of my time I studied everything in college. It's a neurodivergent thing, but most of my time was spent studying vocal performance music. And my ex-wife, it made sure that I didn't sing, because that was joy. Singing and music for me was joy. And that's something I still don't do. Like, I'm still overcoming that and trying to work back up to a point where I find my literal voice again. But I remember one day she left for a couple hours, which never happened, never happened. And for whatever reason, I put on makeup. Like, I was sick at the time too. I was like grasping on to life. I was like holding on. Johns Hopkins thought I was on my way out of the world. And she left for a few hours, and I put on makeup. I put on these big hoop earrings. My head was shaved at the time. And I recorded myself singing with this song. Like, I found like a track sort of thing where I was like a karaoke. And I still have the video of me singing. It was absolutely terrible. But that song, Kesha's Rainbow, I'm trying not to cry talking about it, but like, it woke me back up, and it made me remember that, hey, You're a person. You're worth something. And like, I don't even think I completely understood that at the time, like what it did for me. And I love that music can do that and that someone else's creation, someone else's art can take you to a point where you realize that you found a deeper well. You realize, and I don't know if have you ever seen the music video for Rainbow?
I don't think so. I need to
Oh
watch
my
it.
gosh, I'll send it to you later. It is one of the most beautiful pieces of art that I have ever seen. Or not Rainbow. I'm sorry, that's Praying. Praying is the most beautiful piece of art. Never mind. But anyway, that was like Casey Musgraves, like this the whole Rainbow album, and Praying was on the album. But I love that. And so that's why I think it's so important that when we find things that bring us joy, we share it. And, for the longest time, I thought I had to like tell my story frame for frame, like this traumatic thing, I feel blah, 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 blah. But you don't. Sharing the joy teaches people how to create love for themselves. And so the thing that we had talked about, you and I had talked about, you said in 2022 you picked up something that you're that you're into now, the
Reading.
reading and your yeah.
Yeah.
And what led you to this like passion for books? Did you have a passion before?
Not really. I read like the first book I ever read. Well, not ever because I read like the first two Twilight books in like ninth grade, but then I got bored, so I stopped. But um, my junior year of high school, I had the best music teacher ever. I wish he was still a teacher, but he's actually a barber now in New Jersey. But anyway, that's besides the point. He was the best. And I took his AP music history class, and we had to read a book about a musician, a band, an autobiography or biography about either, and do a presentation on it. And I chose Cash by Johnny Cash because I've always loved Johnny Cash. And of course, I waited till the night before to read the book. And I stayed up all night. I made the PowerPoint and I was obsessed with Johnny Cash. Like, I mean, I was before, but after that, I had to get the shirt with the middle finger on it. Like, I loved him. And which is also strange because if you knew me in high school, all I cared about was Lil Wayne. And had like
Love
three,
that.
uh, I had like three free Wheezy shirts, and I tried to wear one to get my senior pictures taken, and my mom made me change. I was pissed. But anyway, and I read that and I was just like, wow, like I really like this. So for a while, I just like to read biographies and autobiographies. And then sometimes I'd be like, I want to be a reader. And I would go to the bookstore and just like browse around. And I saw the book Where the Crawdads Sing. And it was like number one for like weeks. So I bought it and I loved it. I made like everybody I work with read it. Everybody I know had to read that book. Like I was obsessed with it. And it just went from there. And I've loved it ever since.
And now Savannah is such an avid reader that she has a pretty large following on what is it, Booksagram? How do you say it? Booksagram? Bookstagram?
Bookstagram. It's just like Instagram, but
Bookstagram.
books. Bookstagram.
Yeah, and so I'm going to include in the episode, actually, if you would like to follow her and see what she's reading. And I have to ask you, like, what is your favorite book that you've ever read?
Oh, that's really hard. Um, that's really
Or one
hard.
of your tops?
Uh,
One of your favorites?
one of my favorites would be The German Wife by Kelly Rimmer. And
Okay.
it's
And what is
historical fiction, um, dual point of view between a German wife and who lives in Germany, obviously during the war and stuff, and then an American woman who lives in Texas, where a lot of the people who were trying to run away from being a Nazi and from the war went after the war. And so, like, it's her point of view of how
Mm.
she is feeling about all the Nazis coming to America, and the German wife's view of how she was never with it to begin with. Like, she didn't support it, but her family was blackmailed into it, and how she feels about going to America in the end. It was really
I
good.
think that there is so much that could be unpacked there, even as it relates to our conversation. There are so many things that before I was actively choosing to love myself through nurturing or whatever expression of creativity, before I remembered, thank you, Kesha, that I was worth it, that there were so many things that I could have written that dialogue. Like I could have written that book, but from the perspective of, I'm not down with this or that, but I am making myself small. I am people pleasing and going along with the flow because what do I do? I didn't realize I had choices.
Yeah,
That sounds like a really good book.
it was really good. I listened to it
That's really
actually, and
interesting.
I finished it in like one sitting.
Wow. And audiobooks are long. Like they take a while to listen to.
I speed them up.
And you said, oh, I do too. Like at least two speed, depending on the reader.
Yeah.
And you said Where the Crawdads Sing. That's a book about West Virginia, if I remember correctly.
It's I think it's like North Carolina, but it's Appalachian, and
Appalachia.
anything Appalachia, like I'm gonna read it and hopefully like it. I did read a book
Savannah and I are both.
recently about like the coal camps back in the day, and this one was set in Fayetteville, and the
Mhm.
writer was from like Kentucky. So like, okay, Appalachia, but not West Virginia, but still enough to know about coal mining. But the narrator, I listened to it, could not pronounce any West Virginia towns. Like,
Hate that.
and it drove me insane. And like Matewan, she said Matawan. Kanawha was
No,
like
that's not right. That's not
Panawa. No.
right. So I consider myself West Virginia royalty because I'm a direct descendant. If anyone knows any West Virginia history, the Hatfield and McCoy feud that went on for, I think it was like a couple decades. I'm the direct descendant. I'm the I think four times great granddaughter of Double Lance Hatfield, which is fun. No, my family, you know what? They were resilient. That's where I got my resiliency from. And those people also knew how to live and be poor, and that has helped me since leaving my situation. But I tried to watch the Kevin Costner Hatfields and McCoys telling, like that's how big of a deal this whole history is. Like there have been Kevin Costner started a movie, and I got through maybe 10 minutes, and I was like, they're not even trying. Like they're not even trying to do an appropriate accent. Like I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch it.
I feel that.
And I think, yeah, yeah, like I love our state. There are a lot of issues with it, of course, but a lot of the issues have come from the state actually being preyed upon by outsiders. And that's not an excuse for people to act the way that they do all the time, but there's also a lot of heart in that state. And there's a lot of knowledge about how, like if the economy ever falls apart, I'm going back to West Virginia. I'm going to go live in the mountains because I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Those people know
And
how
I
to take
really
care of
wish
themselves.
a lot of the people who live here and claim to love it here and, you know, want to say, well, I'm from West Virginia, knew the real history of West Virginia and the real story about the coal mining wars, the Battle of Blair Mountain. Because if they did, we probably
That's
wouldn't
what
be
I
the
was thinking.
reddest freaking state in the country. So I don't
The
want to
Battle of Blair
hear,
Mountain, if anyone's
you
listening,
know, go ahead.
the Battle of Blair Mountain, if anyone's listening and wondering what that is, the reason that you have weekends, the reason that like unions exist was because of the battle of Blair Mountain in West Virginia. So, like, sure, we get a bad rep out there, but there's a Mother's Day came from the state of West Virginia, from a Black woman from West Virginia. Like, that's beautiful. That's incredible history. We don't get known, we're not known for that. We're known
Right.
for things that sure can exist, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of
And
beauty.
also,
Again,
the
mhm.
term redneck came from the mine wars because coal miners wore a red bandana around their neck so that people would know not to shoot them. And that's how they stood in
Oh, wow.
solidarity with the unions and to stay away from the big companies that came in and bought all the coal mines and paid you a little coin that was called scrip, and you could only spend it at their store. And that's how they got a hold of you and kept you. And that's exactly what happens now. And but people love Trump.
We're still doing
So
script?
no, but I mean like the big companies want to come in and take everything, and everybody thinks that it's better when it's not. Like right now,
And
they
if
want to
you look at
put,
that at a,
sorry, right now they want to put data
no, go
centers
ahead.
in like Tucker County, which is nothing but land basically. And that, like, like why? We don't need that here.
And I think a lot of times the sentiment is it's a poor area, nobody cares. Like, because there's a lot of waste created. And look at where I'm from, the part where I'm from, it was the chemical capital of the entire world at some point because there's just chemical plant after chemical plant after chemical plant. People with quote unquote rare cancer, but people younger than me, one of my best friends from that area, is going to struggle with cancer her entire life. Like she's a lifelong chemo person. And but there are 6 people her age in that same city who have this incredibly rare and aggressive cancer. And I think that that's really sad, that that's what we do to those areas because there is so much nature and so much beauty there. But, that's something that I love to talk about. I know you do too. Your dad's a coal miner or was a coal miner. And that's something that's like very near and dear to your heart. I want to ask, as we're kind of wrapping up, I want to ask one more question, maybe share a story with you too. We'll see. But when you think back to the time where you were creating this change for yourself through art, Casey Musgrave's song, Deeper Well, was there anything external for you that helped you? Because obviously it comes down to that moment where we choose ourselves. Like where, and I'm going to go off on a tangent for just a second and come back to this. I apologize, but I talk a lot. Like today I was standing at the bus stop and I was thinking about how I was like, I spent a lot of time talking about how the systems are broken. And the systems are broken, don't get me wrong. I deconstructed things, I talked about it in depth, and I'm not going to go into that, but like, I stand by it. It's not that anything that I said was wrong. And the systems absolutely, like the social networks and things like that, they will eat you up and you get stuck in them. But for me, the reason I was sort of stuck temporarily was because I was looking for it to give me the answer. And that's how people, you have to be a rebel at some point. Systems, anything external is there for support. It's not going to change you. It's not going to change your life. And if that's what you think is happening, then you're going to be in some kind of cycle over and over and over again. Whether that's another relationship, you wait for someone to come rescue you, whether that's a system where you're like, okay, give me the answer, give me the ability to do the thing. Everything you need is already inside of you. You just have to unlock it through creative endeavors. But so back to the question for you. Was there any point at that initial moment where you said, enough is enough, I'm leaving, I found a deeper well? Was there anything external that was a little bit of a catalyst for you also, besides the song?
Mm, not that I really can pinpoint. I think it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm gonna do this and everything's gonna be okay. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I mean, I moved back in with my parents, and it was just so different to be like on my own, but not really on my own. And I mean, I never thought it would happen to me, but I just knew like there's better, and in order to get to better, this is what has to happen.
Hmm. This is the change that I have to make that's going to be uncomfortable and not ideal. And it's good that you had your parents too. Like sometimes that choice is a lot more detrimental and like the harder. Like I'm not playing like let me one up you, but like my choice and for a lot of other people is if I choose myself and to survive, I'm choosing homelessness. Like whether
Right.
that's couch surfing or living in a shelter or whatever. And I found often, like you said, you had that peace, like everything's going to be okay. It was scary as hell. And I can't tell you how many times while I was still dealing with homelessness, like how scared I would get. But looking back and kind of like lessons in wisdom and intuition are always retrospective typically. But I look back and I go, you know what? The result of whatever choice I made was always exactly what I needed. I stayed at this really scary shelter and it I didn't realize it was scary at the time, but it saved my life. It gave me thick skin. It taught me not to put up with people's crap. But the external things, we take wisdom from it. And I want to share just like a quick story about how when you show up authentically, when you show up without trying, it can really change a person. It's not going to change them, but it will empower them. It can empower them to help change themselves. I had a friend who I connected with right before I left my situation, around the same time I'm finding the song and all of that. And I remember talking to her, and there were so many moments where she was like, "Why are you apologizing all the time?" And then there was this moment where I was talking about Severance, the show Severance. Did you watch it with Adam Scott?
Mm-mm.
It's a great show. It's on Apple TV. But anyway, I'm showing her like this scene from Severance, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't remember that scene, blah blah blah." And I pull it up on my phone, and as soon as she gets it, I immediately like close it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay," because I hadn't been allowed to play videos. Like I wasn't allowed to make noise in my space. And she said, "Why did you pull that away?" Like I was interested in knowing the full context of what you were trying to show me. And it was that moment and that entire interaction over how many ever hours it was, combined with the artwork of Kesha, that started to make me realize, oh my God, there are people who give a shit about what I think. There are people who want to know what I'm thinking about. And just by showing up and actually caring, it started the wheels turning. And that day, that interaction was the first time. It was the first time I realized, wait, I was manipulated. And so you never know. Like, you don't have to try. You don't have to offer unsolicited advice. There is no advice. But if you're supporting someone who's going through a difficult situation, sometimes sharing your joy, sometimes sharing your creativity, sometimes you just don't know. But just showing up in a way that you just say, hey, I'm here. I'm going to sit here with you in the dark, in the light, whatever you need. And, boundaries are important because sometimes we become toxic when we're in those situations. And so sometimes those boundaries, you have to protect yourself, but you can still show up authentically and still keep that boundary there and keep yourself safe. So I want to ask you one more question before we leave. And that is, if you could travel anywhere in the entire, let's say the United States, let's keep it, smaller. Where would you like to visit?
Probably Salt Lake City.
Really? Why? I have very different feelings about Utah. Why is that?
I just think it's really pretty. Um, Probably the whole Northeast, actually. I would like to take a road trip from like here all the way up and back.
I've only not been to 12 states. I've driven through almost every single state. And the Northeast is a section. I've only been up to New York City. That's as far north as I've been. And I haven't been to like North Dakota. Like it's the northern stuff in general, but I would love to go to the Northeast. So if I ever end up back on the East Coast, we're taking a road trip because like that's kind of, I still love road trips, even though I spent a lot of time driving. But Utah is an exceptionally gorgeous state. So is Nevada. New Mexico, my heart skipped a beat when I drove across the border. I had my sister's ashes up front as I drove around the country. And I remember driving into New Mexico and being like, oh my gosh, I wish you could actually see this because this is like the most beautiful land I've ever seen and it's in America.
I would love to go to New
And I
Mexico
think,
too.
yeah, it's astonishing how beautiful it is. So, is there anything that you would like to add before we leave? Is there anything you'd like to ask? Is there
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being my first guest, and thank you for adding to the playlist. I think it's so important that we can't give anybody a roadmap to how to be in a better situation or to how to choose yourself. But what we can do is share our creation, share those moments where we decided we're going to take care of ourselves. And I think you and I did that through, ironically, snacks. The trauma disconnects the mind from the body. That's the whole thing. You start to overanalyze, how can I keep myself safe, whether that's emotional safety, whether that's physical safety. And so when you're in your head, you're disconnected from your body. And so really part of being able to kind of heal that and bridge that gap comes when you use your senses, whatever that looks like. And so for us, we didn't even know that we were choosing some sort of self-love and doing it in a community with each other. We were just we were just hungry. I was stoned, like, but we were choosing ourselves. And I'm willing to bet that if we hadn't had those moments sitting around that table in that corner, I can still see the table. Like we always sat in the same spot near the Christmas tree.
Always.
Like there was no room. And those chairs were awful, but we always sat there around that Christmas tree. And I'm betting that if we hadn't done that and we hadn't done our Irish exits and gotten our salty and sweet delicious snacks from what was it, the Go Mart or something? And was it a Go Mart? That it would have taken us longer to get out of the situations that we were in. And I'm glad. Thank you for choosing yourself with me.
Thank you for having
And yeah,
me.
so of course, and don't jump off because I need to do the let the video upload and everything. But please, if you are someone who is listening and you have a good example of how you quietly chose yourself and started nurturing yourself through creativity, please send me an email at lovebroughtyouherepodcast@gmail.com. You can find I'll link everything in the podcast episode notes. And thank you. And I hope you'll come back again next week when we explore with someone else how love brought you here. And I want to remind you of the full quote of James Baldwin, and that is, love brought you here. If you've trusted love this far, don't panic now. Like Savannah said, everything's going to be okay. All right. Thank you. Until next week. Bye bye. Don't hang up.